Tell me whether you are able to see the picture. Anyone, please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Please, if when I'm asking some questions, you can just switch on your microphone and then just tell me the answers, right? Because this is an online class by using a video conference platform. So just tell me. Yes, any one of you can tell the name of this. Sorry, 1 minute. Oh, because it was because of my problem. Because I was sorry. I had reduced the volume. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, can any one of you tell the name of the picture? Name of the animal? Tell me what is the name of this animal?
Kangaroo.
Yes, kangaroo. Yes, we tell kangaroo, and English people tell kangaroo. Yes, yes, kangaroo or kangaroo. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes, you are sure. This is
It's the mother kangaroo.
it's a mother kangaroo. Yes, a mother kangaroo with a child kangaroo. Yeah, right. So you are sure? Yes. So this is assimilation. This is assimilation. Yes. Now, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry to tell that this is not kangaroo. This is wallaby. This is wallaby. The name of this animal is not kangaroo but wallaby. Confused? Confused? Are you confused?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're confused. Yes? Yes. So you're
Yes, sir.
yes, you are confused. And this is disequilibrium. This is disequilibrium. First, you saw the picture, and I asked what the name of the picture was. Then you told kangaroo. Then I told it's not kangaroo, it's wallaby. Then you got confused, and this is disequilibrium. Now I tell you, this animal is just like kangaroo, but if you look at the picture, you can see that it's a little bit small. Yes, smaller than kangaroos. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's a little bit smaller than kangaroos. And you can see some changes in the color also. And the animal is just like kangaroo, but it's known as wallaby. Though it is just like kangaroo, is another animal, and its name is wallaby. Now, have you cleared your doubts? Yes? Yes? Yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And now you have reached the stage called equilibrium. First, I had told you, I had just shown you the picture and I have asked you what the picture was. Then you told me it was kangaroo. Then I told you it's not kangaroo, it's wallaby. Then you got confused. Then I just gave you an explanation that is just like kangaroo, but is a little bit smaller than kangaroo, and its color is also a little bit different. Then you have got some ideas. And if any one of the people asks you later, by showing the picture, I feel that you would just look at the picture a number of times or several times, and only after that you will say whether it is kangaroo or whether it's wallaby, because in your brain now you have stored two items, two schemata. One is that of kangaroo and the other is that of wallaby. And this final process is known as accommodation. Now, I may ask you a question whether you heard about this theory during the psychology classes during the first semester. And what is that theory? Just
Yes,
tell
sir.
me.
While team.
Studying.
Yes?
Yeah. Piaget cognitive.
Yeah. And this is the cognitive learning theory put forth by Piaget. It's also known as schematic theory of Piaget. Yes? Yes? Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
Yes, sir.
according to Piaget, learning occurs through assimilation and accommodation. It's a wonderful theory. Piaget is a great psychologist, and he put forth some theories from his own life. He always used to watch the activities or observe the activities of some children at his home. And on the basis of his ceaseless observation, his continuous observation of these children, he introduced a few psychological theories. And his most famous learning theory is schematic theory. And this theory comes under cognitive theories of learning. You will learn different schools of learning theories. You will learn some behaviorist theories. I think Dr. K. Bina will be dealing with some behaviorist theories like Thorndike's theory, then Pavlov's classical conditioning theory, and something like that. And there are some social theories, and there are some cognitive development theories. There are some social development theories, and this is a theory from cognitive, some of the school called cognitive theories, and this is schematic theory. So, according to Piaget, all of us keep small units of knowledge in our cognitive domain, that is brain. What is it? What is it? What's the name of that small units which we keep in our brain or cognitive domain? Tell me.
Schema.
Yes, schema. Right was it. Yeah, wonderful.
Schema.
Yes, schema. Schema. Yes, a single unit is known as schema, and a group of pieces of knowledge are known as schemata. Schemata is the plural of schema. So we keep some schemata in our mind. For example, we have got something called cat, a schema, rat, a schema, dog, a schema, kangaroo, a schema, mango, a schema, apple, a schema, human being, a schema, man, woman, child, baby, infant, a schema, schemata. This a number of schema are known as schemata. So according to Piaget, we keep everything as small units of knowledge in our cognitive domain. And when we see a new item, we just make use of the schema or one of the schemata which we have already stored in our cognitive domain to recognize the item. Here, actually, you had already created a schema called kangaroo in your cognitive domain. And when I just showed you the picture of wallaby, the schema called kangaroo in your cognitive domain worked, and you just told wallaby, and this process is known as, yes, tell me, this process is known as, this process is known as, tell me. I think you have got. It might have been discussed in your classroom during the first semester, because I know that this topic is there at the first semester too. Yes, the process is known as, anyone? Tell me.
Assimilation.
Yes, assimilation. Yes, assimilation. So whenever we see a strange thing, a new thing, we just absorb it, or we just recognize it, or we just call it by using some schemata or some schema which is already there in our cognitive domain, and this process is known as assimilation. So you can just write assimilation is the process. I think you are keeping notes with you. Yeah, you can just write assimilation is the process. Assimilation is the process. Assimilation is the process of approaching a new item, approaching a new item or a strange item by using a schema, which is which is which is already there, in which is already there in one's cognitive domain. Which is already there in one's cognitive domain. Yes, written. May I repeat? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, written, yes? Yes, I feel that you have written, yes. So, assimilation is the process according to,
Yes, sir.
yes, thank you. According to Piaget, when we see a new item or a strange item, we always approach it or recognize it by using an already stored schema in our cognitive domain. And this is assimilation. And again, we can go back to the process. And when I had shown the picture, you told it's kangaroo. Then I told it's not kangaroo, it's wallaby. Then there was some confusion, right? Yes? Right? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And I told this is disequilibrium. Then how can you define disequilibrium? What is this disequilibrium? Can anyone define disequilibrium? Yes, any one of you. Tell me. Can any one of you? Can any one of you tell me what disequilibrium is? Yes, you can just write disequilibrium is. Yes, you can just write disequilibrium is the state of disequilibrium is the state of confusion. Disequilibrium is the state of confusion or imbalance. Disequilibrium is the state of confusion or imbalance in our mind. In our mind, disequilibrium is the state of confusion or imbalance in our mind when when someone tells that when someone tells that when someone tells that when someone tells that an item is an item is not an item is not an item is what we not what we not what we have thought. An item is not what we have thought. Right? So you have seen the picture of kangaroo, and you're sure that it's kangaroo because since the childhood days you have been keeping this picture of kangaroo in your cognitive domain. The schema is there for a number of years, and even if your teacher tells that it's not kangaroo, you will not be ready to accept it because it's there in your brain. And you feel that it's taught by our teacher. Is it not kangaroo? Hey, it's kangaroo. Because I have been keeping this picture in my mind for 13 years, or 14 years, or 15 years, or 20 years. Is it not kangaroo? But our teacher would not tell uh, a lie. Then what is there? So this confusion, this confused state of mind is known as disequilibrium. And again, I just interfered and I just told you, see, it's like kangaroo. I know that you know kangaroo. You keep the picture in your mind, but it's not kangaroo. It's just like kangaroo. And look at the picture. It's a little bit smaller than kangaroo. Its color is different. Then you might have started thinking, yes, maybe there are different items similar to some other items. And this process is known as equilibration. This process is known as equilibration. What is equilibration then? Can you define? Can any one of you define what equilibration is? Yes. So I think you are hiding there. I have to ask Any one of you? Asana. Is Asana there? I think Asana is there. Yes. Is Asana there? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Asana, can you define this process, equilibration? First, there was a disequilibrium in your mind. There was a confusion in your mind, right? There was a confusion in your mind. Then I started explaining, and then you got some idea. So this process, what I did is called equilibration. Then what is equilibration? Yes. Just tell me.
Sir,
Yes.
balance between assimilation and accumulation.
Yes, the process between
There is a
assimilation.
balance
Yeah.
between assimilation and
The process between assimilation and accommodation. Oh, you can tell that actually I was removing the confusion, right? Yes. So equilibration is the process of removing the state of disequilibrium created in the mind of a person by giving more explanation on an item which has already been assimilated by that person. Yes, because you just assimilate it as wallabi. Then sorry, kangaroo. Then I told it's not kangaroo but it's wallabi. Then confusion. Then I have to remove that confusion. The confusion is that whether it is kangaroo or wallabi. So I had just to remove that confusion. So I just gave you some explanation to convince you, right? So this process, the process of creating equilibrium by removing the state of confusion or disequilibrium of the mind of a person by convincing him that it is not the item which he had already assimilated. That process is equilibration. Yes. So you can just write equilibration. Equilibration is the process of equilibration. Equilibration is the process of creating. Equilibration is the process of creating equilibrium. Equilibration is the process of creating equilibrium, creating equilibrium in the mind of a person, creating equilibrium in the mind of a person after convincing, after convincing, after convincing him, after convincing him. Equilibration is the process of creating equilibrium in the mind of a person after convincing him, after convincing him that, after convincing him that the item, the item, the item that he has already, the item that he has already assimilated, that the item that he has already assimilated is, is, is is not as he has assimilated. Not as he has assimilated. By giving more explanation. By giving more explanation. Yes, written. Should I repeat? Should I repeat? Tell me. Yes, written. Tell me. Have you completed it? Yes. So this is equilibration. Now, what is equilibrium? What is equilibrium? Yes. What is equilibrium? Any one of you, please tell me, what is equilibrium? Disequilibrium is the confused state. Then equilibrium is? Equilibrium is? Yes. Tell me. Yes. Oh, disequilibrium
It's
is?
a state without confusion.
Yes. Actually, a state without confusion. That means the balanced state of our mind, the normal state of our mind. Or our mind gets some clear idea on the item, and there is no distress, there is no disturbance. See, when you see an item and if you assimilate that item by using a schema which is already stored in your mind, and if another person tells that is not that item, there will be a distress, there will be a disturbance, there will be an unrest in your mind, and you have to clear that unrest, you have to remove that unrest, and you have to make your mind without any distress, without any confusion, without any sort of disturbance. I mean, you should make your mind normal, and you should realize that it is not that item, or you should the convinced mind. Yes, the convinced mind, that is equilibrium. So creating a mind without any confusion, or the state of mind. Equilibrium is the state of mind where there is no more confusion about an item which a person has already assimilated, because the confusion has already been removed by some other person, maybe an MKO, more knowledgeable others. I think you remember that thing, more knowledgeable other, social constructivism. Yes. So you get some advice from others. You get some instruction. So you get some ideas from some others who had already seen this item, and who knows more about the item which you have assimilated in a wrong manner. So this state of mind without any confusion is known as equilibrium. Now comes accommodation. What is accommodation? Yes. Now you have created a new schema. Yes. Anyone? What is accommodation?
Sir, it's we are receiving a new schema
Yeah. Now you
and
have, yeah.
connecting with the existing schema, and it's placed in an exact place.
Yeah. So that's a wonderful answer. Yes. Now you have created a new schema. That is one level, right? And you keep this one, you store this one in your cognitive domain. Another unit of knowledge has been created, and you just accommodate that piece of knowledge or that schema in your cognitive domain. And this process of creating and storing a new schema on the basis of the equilibration process, or after creating equilibrium in your mind, is known as accommodation. So I think you can just write accommodation is the process. Accommodation is the process. Accommodation is the process of creating and storing. Accommodation is the process of creating. Accommodation is the process of creating and storing a new schema. Accommodation is the process of creating and storing a new schema in one's cognitive domain. In one's cognitive domain. In one's cognitive domain, after removing the disequilibrium of the mind, after removing the disequilibrium of the mind, after removing the disequilibrium of the mind, and getting convinced that the new item is not as he has assimilated, is not that he has, not as he has assimilated. And this is the process of accommodation. According to Piaget, a person learns a new thing only after this process of accommodation or creating a new schema in the mind. And this learning theory is known as schematic theory of Piaget, or cognitive learning theory of Piaget. Got it? Got it? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, when you write about assimilation, disequilibrium, equilibrium, equilibration, and accommodation, there is no need for using the technical terms. You can just write the answers by using your own words. For example, if you are asked what is assimilation, you can just write, when we see a new thing, we think that it is something which we have already kept in our mind. This process is assimilation. Or you can just write, assimilation is the process of recognizing a thing as something or as some schema in our mind. So you can just write by using your own words. The theme should be there. We see a thing and we think that this is something we already know. This process is known as assimilation. And someone tells that it is not that thing, then we get some confusion. This is disequilibrium. Then the person explains us why he told that it is not that item we assimilated. Then this process is known as equilibration. Then our mind is convinced, and now we are clear that this is not that item, this is a new item. This is equilibrium. And when there is equilibrium, we just store the new item as a new schema in our cognitive domain of brain, and this process is known as accommodation. So this is something about a schematic theory. Now the important question is that you are B.Ed students and you learn about schematic theory. Why? Just for the sake of learning the theory, or for making the theory use in the classroom. That is something important. So my next question, or an important question, is that what are the educational implications of schematic theory? Just look at the theory and see, whenever we learn a new theory, we should think whether it is applicable in our life or whether it is applicable in our professional life. And we are going to be teachers, and our profession will be teaching in the future. And whenever we learn a new psychological theory, we should think how we can use this theory when we are becoming teachers, or what the educational implications of this theory are. So just tell me, have you got an idea? Assimilation is the, disequilibrium is the, equilibrium is the, accommodation is the. What are the educational implications? Just look at the theory, just look at different aspects of the theory, and you can tell me different educational implications of the theory. Be a little more faster, because I'll be giving you some explanation in Malayalam. Yes, Rafsina has given an answer for understanding the nature of student and adopt child-centered education. You're right, because we should know to clarify the doubts of the students. Yes, Sahala, right? Yes, to clarify the doubts of the students there. So Rafsina told that to understand the nature of the students. See, that's something important. The other thing also is important. Clarification out of that. I will tell this one first. Rafsina has told that to understand the nature of the students. And see, psychology tells that there should be individual attention. According to psychology, every individual is unique. So in a child-centered classroom, you should give individual attention. How can you give individual attention? On the basis of the nature of different students, the uniqueness of different students. And see, some people in your classroom might have never seen an object in their life. Some others might have. For example, some of your students might have seen wallaby. See, when I had been thinking about teaching the schematic theory in the classroom by using a different technique, I was thinking, and on a particular day, I just searched online by typing just like this, some similar animals, or animal which is similar to another animal. I actually I had no idea about wallaby. I just searched just for getting an idea for teaching the item in a different manner in the classroom for your seniors. I think uh, it was in 2015 or something like that. Then I showed this animal, wallaby. I had never seen this one. And after a couple of years, when I went to Chennai with my brother for his medical checkup, his son Habib also was with us, and the child, my brother's son, told us to go to a zoo. And when we went there, we just saw the animal. When Habib and my brother saw the animal, both of them told kangaroo. But I just looked at the animal and it was very small. The mother animal was very small and I told them it was not kangaroo, it was wallaby. So in your classroom, some of the students might have seen wallaby. Some others mightn't have. I see in your classroom, some of the students might have got some idea on some items, and some others mightn't have got an opportunity for knowing about that particular item. So you should give more explanation to the students who have never known about some particular items in your classroom. So according to this schematic theory, you should give individual attention or you should give more explanation to some students than others. So it's a part of child-centered education. That means that you can teach any item only after looking at the nature of your students. And that's something important. Then I will tell the point given by Sakla later. Then this tells about something called previous knowledge. Yes, am I right? Previous knowledge. Yes. Tell me, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Importance of previous knowledge. See, during your third semester, when you are going for your teaching practice or before your teaching practice, your teachers will teach you how to plan a lesson. You will have to write lesson plans. And I feel that in all the optional papers, you will see one thing, previous knowledge. That means you are going to teach a new item and you will just write about the previous knowledge which is required for teaching the new item. And this checking the previous knowledge is something important. So if you look at schematic theory, the previous knowledge of the students are something important for teaching the new items, and for that, before starting any new lesson or any new item in your classroom, you should or you must check the previous knowledge of your students, and only by linking the previous knowledge to the new item you can teach something. For any subject, for example, if you are teaching mathematics, if you are teaching subtraction, then you should link it with addition, which has already been taught to the students. So knowledge of previous knowledge of the students is something important in the case of teachers. So whenever you teach a new item, you should check the previous knowledge of the students. And according to Piaget, only by linking the previous knowledge to the new item, you can teach something inside the classroom. Right? Right? Yes? Tell me. Yes? Yeah. Now, another thing is that it also tells that during the childhood days, parents should show almost all the items to the children. Because when they go to schools, they can learn more things only by using schema or schemata in their brain. So during the childhood days, you should try to create more schemata in the minds of the children. For example, actually, wallaby is not a normal item. It's rare. But if the student does not know about kangaroo, how can he learn about wallaby? That's something important, yeah. So we know kangaroo. So during the childhood days itself, we should show them kangaroo. We should show them dog, because when they see something like dog, and if they have to get an idea of that particular item, they should be able to compare the item with dog. So during the childhood days itself, all the children should see dogs, they should see cats, they should see rats, they should see all the items which are possible to be seen at their locality. Or you should show them pictures, or you should show them videos, you should show them, you should teach them names of different animals, different vegetables, different fruits, and something like that. Then only they can compare, or they can assimilate something new in the future. And this is very, very important. So during the childhood days itself, or the teacher also should try, because during the early stages of the education, I mean the primary stage of education, teachers should try to create more and more schemata in the minds of the students. That is something important according to this theory, schematic theory of Piaget. Now, I will just come back to Sahala's point, and that is very, very important. How many times you would repeat an item for your students? Tell me, how many times? One time, two times, three times, four times, five times? Yes, tell me. How many times? See, you introduce something in your class, a new item, and there are 50 students. There are 50 students. 48 students have got an idea on the item, and 2 students are confused. How many times you would repeat? Tell me. It's 10:14. We have to discuss all the things in Malayalam too. And yeah, until they catch what we want to convince. Yes, you're wonderful, Nubila. Until they catch what we have to convince. See, there is something called disequilibrium, right? 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 Yes, tell me, right? Anyone? There is something called disequilibrium, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, we can go back to the example by which I started. You show a picture of kangaroo, and the students tell kangaroo. So you show a picture of wallaby, the students tell kangaroo, and you tell it's not kangaroo, it's wallaby. And 48 students have cleared the doubt. The 2 students still are in disequilibrium. Then they will feel, is it kangaroo? Is it wallaby? Is it kangaroo? Is it wallaby? And if you are not removing this disequilibrium, actually you are making more problem, because when you enter the classroom, they were clear about kangaroo, right? They were clear about kangaroo. After your class, now they were not clear about kangaroo and wallaby. So you have destroyed the knowledge of kangaroo also. And in future, when anyone asks the student what is it, and looking at kangaroo, even if it is kangaroo, looking at kangaroo, the children will not be able to answer the question, because they will feel, is it kangaroo? Is it wallaby? Never leave a student in a disequilibrium state. According to schematic theory, a teacher should explain an item several times. Several times means until the students reach the state of equilibrium. Now you may be asking me, how can we do that? We have got only 35 minutes. We have got only 45 minutes. And we have to teach all the students. Then the matter is that if you are not able to convince them at the classroom, you can call them to staff room, or you can give special time for them. Or nowadays there is something called your social media platforms. You can give them extra time for giving the explanation, and see if you are not helping them to get rid of that imbalance, that disequilibrium of mind. Actually you're destroying your students, and that is what is told by Sahla, clarification of doubt. And according to Nubla, this clarification doubt should be until they are convinced, that is until they reach the state of equilibrium. So these are the educational implications. That means you can teach each and every student only after knowing about their nature, their background. You should make use of previous knowledge of your students whenever you are teaching a new item in your classroom. Right? Then during the childhood days, children should be helped to create more and more schemata in the cognitive domain. A teacher should clarify the doubts of the students until they reach the state of equilibrium. So these are the important educational implications of this theory. I may just stop the recording of the class in English, then I will be explaining everything in Malayalam. Just wait there. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll just wait there. Please wait there.